Hello everyone, happy Wednesday. It's a hot day. I was going to say another hot day. We have had some nice days in between, and I'll tell you what, now that the days are shorter, and they are, I mean by 7 o'clock it starts to get dark, 7:30 it's pitch black. So it's like, oh no, the days are shorter, but it brings cooler air, and of course I probably wouldn't care except for the fact that I don't have proper air conditioning, and it's been one hell of a summer, let me tell you. And allergies, and I was sick last night, my throat is still scratchy, and I realized that stress is causing my thyroid to act up, and I was sick, so just please bear. I know I'm always saying my throat is scratchy. I just realized it's my thyroid because I've had a lot of stress. So okay, yeah, and I was sick. I had some stomach flu, I had aches, pains, racing heart, which I know that sounds scary, but it's part of whatever this virus was. It was bad. I mean, I was like in misery, and it wasn't just the stomach thing, it was like the aches, the body aches and everything else, and I was just kind of up all night, and I was hot, and oh gosh, it's been, this summer until now I've been sick 3 times, and I don't know, is there something to that with the way everything's jacked up in the world, and we don't know what's going on, and we don't know if there's viruses going around because we don't get to know anything anymore. And that's the next topic, is all these horrible storms like Alaska. People have disappeared because a lot of parts of Alaska have flooded with storms that were not predicted. And just like the airports not being able to control flights anymore and know what's going on with flights. Down south, huge storms. And like, I've never seen such inaccuracy with like the 7-day forecast, because I've always watched the weather. I'm kind of a weather person. And it has been so inaccurate this whole summer and fall. Take a sip of water. Well, anyway, I need a cough drop. That's what I need. I should get some honey. That's what I should do. Okay, keep going. So yeah, it's the weather and everything else. Viruses, we don't know what's going on. We have no idea. All we know is this Orange 45 who is just always doing some horrible thing to make people's lives miserable. And I really, that's just the way that it is right now. It's just awful. It's like constant torture. Unless you like people being tortured and you're happy about it, which I know there's people out there who love this, but I'm not one of those people. I don't like me or anyone else being tortured by him or anyone else. And God, this is hard. This is, this is really, I actually never thought, with all the things that I've been through in my life, I never thought this would happen in my life. I have to say that. I would look at 1940s, 1930s Germany, and even though I love all the Art Deco and like Greta Garbo and movies and music of that time, I always kind of steered away from that whole era, especially the 30s, because of the stuff that was happening in Germany and Europe, and the pain and the horror, the terror. I just couldn't sit in that energy. So I've always sort of like, no, I don't want to think about that decade. And now I'm seeing it in my own life. I'm seeing it in my own country, and I have to say how devastating that is. And the thing is, it wouldn't happen, right? If people would just stand up. If the people who are in the higher ranks of power, 1, if people upheld the Constitution, this wouldn't be happening. 2, if people would stand up to him and use their moral voice and use their conscience, none of this would be happening. Because there's always going to be people out there, the bully, the person who, peer pressure, what have you. It's okay if you do bad stuff. It's okay if you don't care about other people. Just get money and do whatever you want. Grab it and leave. And he himself said, grab, and when you're a star, they'll let you do it. He has no conscience. But it's the other people around him who should have a conscience. And that's something I want to get into. So, this whole thing with icy roads, it's so devastating. You see just every day, multiple times a day, you see another report of somebody who just was unconstitutionally grabbed, thrown to the ground. And it's the tactic, like I said, the grape SA tactic to stalk, overwhelm, grab, zip tie, and get on top of someone, and so that they can't speak and they can't move. Those are what SA. That's graping. That's what graping. That's why I say that this aligns so much with 45, because it's all like grape tactics, and it's not constitutional. I looked up this morning on Google. I looked up, do IC Roads group, do they follow the Constitution? And it said, well, yes, they're supposed to follow the Constitution because blah blah, and it listed off all the stuff that we know they're not doing. They're not using due process. They're not asking for proper papers of citizenship. They're literally going to people's naturalization, legalization hearings. They're like finding out when people, so they're spying on people. This is what the whole Doge thing was when it infiltrated our systems. They were finding out all our information, especially immigrants and brown people, basically. It's just horrible. And they know when someone's going to have a meeting, a hearing to become legal. They're doing the legal thing, and they're grabbing them. So the people are doing the right thing. They're being legal. They're following the law. That's being legal. And they're being accosted and taken away in front of their children. Their children. Now, I had a vision of maybe like 10 years ago. A man marries a woman who is Latina, and they have a child together. He holds that child. It's a girl, his daughter. He loves his daughter. And then, and in that moment, he looks at her and he says, I will do anything to protect you. I will never let anyone hurt you. And I just feel like we have forgotten the vows that we made to our own children, because we're watching parents and children being terrorized, brutalized, treated like grape victims, sent to God knows where, undisclosed locations. No one can help them. No one can talk to them. They can't even give them communion. The priests are trying to go and give them communion, for God's sake. How do we know that they're not being graped or unalived? We don't know anything. That's not constitutional. That's my point I'm making. That's not constitutional. So when it says on Google, yes, IC Roads are supposed to follow constitutional law and due process, but they're not. So then you have Pam Bondi, and she comes on and she's steely-eyed, right? She's steely. She's a new Kellyanne Conway, but worse. And I feel like Pam Bondi is saving her ass because she knows she could be the next Ghislaine Maxwell, because she's tied to the Epstein stuff for entertainment purposes only. And 45 is like, if you don't do everything I say, you're going to end up like Ghislaine. So she's saving her own ass. She's saving his ass. They're all trying to save each other, okay? For entertainment purpose only. But she gets on there and she says, and Kristi Noem says, and Mike Johnson say, the Democrats are shooting at and pushing at IC Roads groups and impeding law and yada yada. Meanwhile, you see videos where IC Roads are gassing and shooting cops, so literal police officers who are trying to protect people. How is that constitutional? How is that legal? It's not. We're hearing reports of people who are documented legal citizens, natural citizens, but they have Latino, or whatever ethnicity from another country, but they're like, I'm Irish, I'm French. So, we all have something because we all came from immigrants. So, but they're not checking, they're not using due process. They're just nabbing people, forcefully subduing them, silencing them, and taking them away. How is that not kidnapping? How is that legal? So, Pam Bondi, we're going to stop, blah, blah, we're going to do this. And the more that we, say this is not right, this shouldn't be happening, and Newsom and others and Chicago and others are saying, yeah, we have safe zones, we have laws, you can't violate these laws, IC Roads can't violate the laws. And it's almost like it's a challenge. And that's something I said early on, that narcissists don't listen to, what is it when you have to order a protection order? They don't listen to protection orders. They're actually challenges to them. I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people who have gotten protection orders and their life got worse. It's like when you stand up, or you put a no in front of a narcissist, they're like, well, now I'm going to get you even worse. It's a challenge. It's a challenge to someone who likes to violate people. And we're talking about 45. Grab them. And when you're a star, they let you do it. He was found guilty of SA and grape. This is where it's coming from. It's that mentality of grape. That's what it is, this whole thing. And it's not constitutional. Now, let's say it's law. Let's say they're following the law. But the way they're doing it is, let's say they found due process. Okay. So everyone they found was illegal. And they found out through due process. Somebody's illegal. Okay. But is it okay to, I mean, the way they're doing it, I don't know. Here's my thing. I always said they were going to go into schools. They're going into schools. They're going onto buses. They're tear gassing buses. They're going onto buses. They're tear gassing cops. They're shooting priests. I just don't, there's no way. Like, I'm trying to figure out the logic. I'm trying to find the law. There's no law. There's no logic. It's all wrong. All of it's wrong. And then you hear 45 say things like bombing the Venezuelan boats that he says are full of drugs. So you have to get them, right? You have to get them because they're full of drugs. Well, if they're headed here with drugs, does that not mean that we're using drugs in America? So we're actually the problem. We're the problem. But without due process, and you're just bombing boats. You know, Jesus was a fisherman. Yet again, we have to bring Jesus into this equation. Jesus was a fisherman. A fisherman is a very peaceful. There's lots of fishermen out there. We wouldn't have fish to eat if we didn't have fishermen. So without due process, we don't know anything. There's no evidence that any of these boats have drugs. There's a word called a hearsay, where somebody says, but I saw packages of drugs floating around after the boat was bombed. Well, that's called hearsay. That's not evidence. You have to prove it in a court. Due process is where the U.S. Coast Guard, right, would stop the boat and say, show me what's on your boat. We're not doing that. We're just bombing them. So let me ask you this. Without due process, do we not become ISIS? I've been saying that phrase for the last hour. Without due process, are we not ISIS? ISIS thought that Americans were infidels. They thought we were sinners, violators, and we deserved to have the World Trade Center bombed and people unalived. They thought we were dirty, evil violators, infidels. And they thought their God was telling them that we deserve to be unalived. Now, would you say that we are? Would you say the U.S. in 2001, September 11th, 2001, were we horrible people? Did we deserve 9/11? No, we did not deserve 9/11. Just because someone thinks that you deserve something bad and they have hearsay, that doesn't mean it's right. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, for entertainment purposes only, don't flag this reading, please. Not fact, just intuition and opinion. ISIS and Al-Qaeda had a lot of hearsay and feelings where they felt like Americans should be unalived and that we deserve. Did we? No, we didn't. Does a boat full of fishermen deserve to be unalived? No. Does someone who's just brown and has an accent deserve to be unalived? No. Without due process, we become ISIS. We must have due process. Let us not become some primal, rogue, medieval justice system with hearsay as our evidence. Due process saves us from hearsay. It's getting out of hand. It's really out of hand. So, okay, back to icy roads. So, here's the thing. There's law, which Different countries, even different states, have various laws. Basically, most laws the same, right? And we have constitutional law. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But the liberty being to walk down the street, mind your own business, conduct your own business, go to the post office, go to the store, have a happy walk. Freedom. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Freedom. That all men and women were created equal. So, the law should protect that. The law is supposed to protect that. Do you feel safe? I feel every day now, I feel, you know, I'm not going to say, but it's just not great here in America. It's not great. Here's the thing. Okay, so we have human law. We have laws that we create. Most law is pretty good. It keeps us safe. Sorry about the shaking. But overriding all law in here in the U.S. and over everywhere, overriding that is the law of humanity, the laws of decency. And people in their hearts. Okay, so really what's happening is 45 is very depraved, and he's trying to destroy us. He's trying to take away our conscience, because he's the guy, for entertainment purposes only, but he's the guy, I think he's proven it himself, or whatever, who takes what he wants, and he gets what he wants. And when people don't let him do it, he gets really mad and he gets revenge, and that's how he works. And sometimes it's really simple. All he just really wants is money. He's just really greedy and he wants money. He's King Midas. And that's, look at all the gold around him. He's King Midas. Everything's gold now. Taking away all the emotions. It's all just money, 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 money. Doesn't care. It's not, he works by revenge, yes. He's very much like Jim Jones. But a lot of it, just in a simplistic way, is just he really is greedy and he wants all the money. So a lot of the shutdown is so that he can take all the rest of the money. If he could do it without opening the government ever again, because if the government's not open, he doesn't have to do anything. He can just stay at, he can just go golf, right? With the government shut down, he doesn't have to do anything. Literally. He's off scot-free. He likes the shutdown. Even he doesn't like the accusations and the complaints. But with the shutdown, he doesn't have to do anything, and he gets to take all the money from these programs. He's going to shut down all the programs and give me the money. That's what he's doing. Okay, so it's a really simple greed that he's doing. But here's the thing. Okay, so law. I got off track. Law. Laws that we create, and laws of decency. So he's trying to make us be like him, greedy, no empathy, no compassion, just have no conscience. Because if you have a conscience, that means that you think he's a bad guy, because he knows that the stuff he does is pretty bad, but he doesn't want to stop doing it. And as long as we all have a conscience, that means that we know that he's a bad guy. If we all lose our humanity, he can do whatever he wants. We all just become like some, like, you know, free-for-all of the den of sin, basically, whatever. He wants us to lose our conscience. It's the cruelty is the point. It really is. And so when we see Icy Roads grabbing grandmother, okay, grandmother gets grabbed, slammed to the ground, zip-tied, tased. I've seen them do that. Like, there was no reason for it. They just decided to tase some guy because, whatever, I guess they can do whatever they want. And just because the cruelty is the point. But let's say it's grandma. Grandma's grabbed, subdued, zip-tied, tased, kicked, thrown in a van, taken away to an undisclosed location. And we, the people, are watching, and we go, no, you can't do that, because we have hearts. We have a conscience. We have empathy, which animals have empathy. It's a survival tactic to have empathy. It's a good thing, okay? It's not a bad thing. They don't want us to have empathy. They're trying to kill all our conscience, our heart, our empathy. So when they say, they're fighting, they push it back and yell at Icy Roads, and we're going to tell them not to do that. We're going to send out more Icy Roads and more whatever military, what have you, private military by Trump. That's because they're trying to stop us from having empathy. They're trying to silence all of us. But I ask you, isn't it just normal? Isn't it a normal reaction? It's not even like an illegal or legal thing. It's a normal human reaction to cry out when you see somebody being violated, terrorized, tortured, especially children. So, Bondi, Noam, they don't have a conscience anymore, clearly. I mean, for entertainment purpose only. But we do. And that's really what this battle is about. It's about the last of us, and there's more of us, who have a conscience. And having a heart, having a conscience, it hurts. It's a duty. It's a weight on us. But it is what it is. You can't stop that. So when they're saying they're bad because they're yelling at the icy roads when we're trying to conduct our work, laws of decency, laws of humanity, crimes against humanity, conscience, our heart, we can't help it. I mean, Obama got rid of, he's deported a lot of people who failed their due process. They had due process, and it was found that they were illegally here. They got sent back. They said, oh, he's really rough on that. But he followed due process. And we all respected that. I mean, didn't always like it, but we respected it. This is different. And we all know this is different. The tactics are different, and they're not constitutional. I don't care what anyone says. They're not constitutional. Because the minute they're not using due process and following due process, it's ISIS. It's rogue justice. It's primal. It's not constitutional. Every state across America should set a mandate that says what icy roads can and cannot do. Stop listening to 45. And I have one more thing to say about him before I go, okay? Listen to the law, listen to the courts, listen to the Constitution. Newsom has set a standard. We should follow everything he does and follow that statewide across the United States. We have to put peace back in America. We have to. Now, last thing. I mean, 45 clearly has mental, I believe he has dementia and psychosis, and of course he's a narcissist. So last night, when I was sick, I was up a lot, and I read this story, and I'll post the picture, where Britney Spears, who we all know she's had, her issues with mental illness, and her sons, who are now adults, said that there were times when she would stand in their doorway when they were little with a knife, and she would stare at them. Now that's why she lost custody of her kids. I always felt bad that she lost custody, but I think we all knew that something was off, and I have full compassion for her. But my point is, she has psychosis, and it wasn't safe for the kids. When I read that report, my brain flashed the image of 45. Maybe it was a psychic flash, and I was like, he's just like that. Oh my God, he's just like that. He's up there in the doorway of America at his podium, looking at us through the TV and all his little meetings he does, and he's holding the proverbial knife over us, threatening us every freaking day. And nobody will do anything like protect us and set laws and say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't have this happen in America. No, you can't ignore due process. And no, you can't keep sending troops to cities that were peaceful. He's threatening Americans. It's just like, Spirit showed me, it's just like Britney in the doorway with a knife staring at her sons. God bless her. I know that she's tried. Everybody's tried, okay? I know mental illness, I have respect and compassion, okay? But my point being, why are people around 45 not saying, yeah, that's not good? Like here's the thing. When 45 said yesterday, I'm closing down all the Democrat programs, Democrats are going to die. And it's like, what psychotic, effed up mentality is that? By the way, most of these programs help Republicans. It's not just Democrats. But the way he said Democrats are going to die, like he was happy about it. And I just thought, that's like Brittany with the knife threatening, the psychosis, the madness. Somebody needs to just put him aside and say, sir, sir, something's not right. And he needs, like Brittany, he needs to have some sort of medication and surveillance and get him away from, safely. I say this with peace. I don't wish anyone harm. It's really hard to talk about it without sounding like a wacko, but I say it peacefully, all due respect, wishing no one any harm, but just do an evaluation on him and find out if he has psychosis. I think he does. And follow the Constitution, follow the courts, and just tell him, you can't do that. I'm sorry, you can't do that. You can't harm, you can't threaten citizens of this country. You have to stop saying things like that, and you have to stop. And let's add to this, the last point. Financially hurting people, again, on a different aspect, with the pump and dump, the stock market crash last week, right before the crash happened, an anonymous account was opened, and somebody made $180 million, and all these people that had stock in the Bitcoin and all of that lost their livelihood. He destroyed people's lives, 45, and his crew, with this insider trading. I don't know how that's legal. I don't know how people aren't talking about it for entertainment purpose only. But again, he's just greedy. He's greedy AF. Anyway, I'm going to leave. I said what I said. Thanks for listening. You guys have a great night. Bye.